Submitted for your approval, one Andy Ngo, a professional provocateur and key editor who LARPs around as a journalist, a man renowned for claiming that hate crimes or hoaxes will soon be claiming to be the victim of a hate crime. On a fateful day in Portland, Oregon, he was ruthlessly attacked, and suddenly, media on all sides of the political spectrum were reunited in their quest to prove once and for all that Antifa are the most dangerous organization the human race has ever encountered. Come with me now as we step into the Turd Light Zone.
Alright, so I'm late. Let's hammer this out. I got places to be. Submitted for your approval.
What the hell are you doing, dude?
Oh, hey. I'm the Twilight guy.
I'm the Twilight guy. We talked about this. We said I'd be the Twilight guy.
What?
Yeah.
No, what Twilight guy?
The one from the 1920s Twilight show. Rod Sterling, the host of the
Rod Sterling?
Rod Sterling.
What, Rod Sterling?
Yeah.
The 1920s?
Yeah.
The 1820s? What, are you trying to reach out to your great-great-grandma?
Well, who are you supposed to be?
Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele? He doesn't have a beard.
Well, yeah, but are you gonna do blackface?
Submitted for your approval, one Andy Ngo.
When the left supports bullying in the worst possible form, ganging up on someone, punching them, hitting them with sticks, crowbars, all this crazy shit, thinking that it's okay to throw milkshakes at people, thinking that this is fine, this is nothing.
I know him well. I don't even know him to be on the right. What he isn't, though, he's not just a woke progressive. So he's not just a far lefty. And in the strange political times that we live in now, that automatically makes you a conservative or someone on the right or anything like that. Also, of course, you know, this happened to happen during Gay Pride Month. Andy happens to be gay. He's also Asian. Those are two minority points that he's supposed to get.
Began circling him. They threw quick drying cement on him, stole his camera equipment, beating him in the face, hit him in the head multiple times.
Good night, everyone, except Antifa criminals, who I plan to sue into oblivion and then sow salt into their yoga studios and avocado toast stands until nothing grows there.
La vie, tu sais, c'est dur, mais je connais un secret. Moi, je n'aime pas le sucre. Moi, je n'aime pas le lait. Mais je connais comment gagner. Are you watching closely?
Andy first got his taste for the truth by being fired from the Portland State University student newspaper, The Vanguard. It seems he recorded a student speaking at an interfaith panel, edited it out of its context, and posted it to Twitter, earning his first taste of a lifelong meal of fear-mongering.
There was a student in the audience who asked the Muslim panelists about Quran 532 because he had referred to it earlier in his when he spoke. Okay. And that verse summarized says that taking one life is akin, killing one person is akin to killing all of humanity. And she said that it was in her understanding that that verse actually excludes infidels. That was the word she used.
Wow, look at this terrible guy. Let's all get him.
Breitbart reported on the clip, claiming it was a reporter for The Vanguard who had posted it, and the rest was unemployment history. Taking the student quote out of context, he realized how much more fun reporting was when he could push any narrative he wanted. This was also Andy's first shot at playing the victim.
You seem like an honest guy. I'm inclined to take your word for it. Well, I don't know what's going on, but...
Andy quickly used it as a launching pad to write an op-ed for the National Review titled, "Fired for Reporting the Truth." He also posted it in the subreddit, The Donald, yes, that one, that his firing was a trend towards censorship in the name of political correctness.
To my surprise, my dormant puritanical tendencies awoke.
On August 29, 2018, Andy caught a break with an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal entitled "A Visit to the Islamic England," in which he claimed that Muslim communities constitute London's failed multiculturalism and falsely connected alcohol-free zones in parts of London to the Muslim majority population. He issued a correction after he was accused of Islamophobia. Andy also realized that people paid far more attention to his work if he provoked them into creating the narrative he so desperately craved. He would frequently film Antifa protests that took place and developed a flair for provoking and taunting its members rather than simply capturing them for a story. He was also quite fond of the playful art of doxing. For the unfamiliar, doxing is the act of publishing people's real identities or addresses, often leading to them being directly attacked themselves. Like here, when he doxed a black woman who ended up being seriously injured as the result of an attack. He was also accused by the online publication, The Jewish Worker, of doxing multiple journalists, many of whom were attacked by Proud Boy members. For some reason, they're still up. Seeing as how he was quickly becoming the natural enemy of the anti-fascist movement, he also decided to create his own Legion of Doom by teaming up with their other foes, the Proud Boys. While Andy would never be openly involved with the organization, he would often film their skirmishes with Antifa, always being careful to be as partial as possible. Again, there's no way of knowing this, but a super secret source with knowledge told Andy ahead of time when a Proud Boys event was actually going to take place. This continued to culminate until that fateful day on June 29, 2019 in Portland, Oregon, where this esteemed journalist finally came head-to-head with the most dangerous organization in America.
Who is this mysterious minstrel whose noted works have captivated a nation for months? Who is this gallant swinger of the pen, whose name you had barely heard of until this incident drew national attention? Because the round-the-clock coverage has become completely focused on how a journalist was beaten by violent Antifa protesters, and if there's one thing America's known for, it's their never-wavering support for the safety of their journalists. But before we release our milkshake, we should pause for a second and talk a little bit more about Andy's journalism, because it's quite something. It's a grab bag assortment of hardcore Islamophobia, fear-mongering about immigrants, Antifa, college students, white privilege, and yes, fear-mongering itself.
And I came out to witness, and this was a major American city, but it felt like I was in Afghanistan or Iraq. I was just recording standing in the center, and somebody ran up from behind me and said my name, and then through the...
Yes, the topic that Andy Ngo seems particularly concerned about is the striking amount of hate crimes in America. Fake ones though, not real ones. Andy is a sub-editor and photojournalist at Quillette. It's a website that calls itself a platform for free thought. Real journalists call it trash. And Andy's position lets himself call himself a journalist.
I started going to covering this more and more. After I left the student paper, I started writing for some national and international publications.
And the cowards of the right, if you had a guess.
No comment.
But what he's really mastered is becoming the TMZ of protest footage. For those unfamiliar, TMZ is a dystopian, nightmarish fever dream slowly processing itself through Gary Busey's organs. A soulless paparazzi organization hell-bent on lowering the bar of what can be considered reporting right through to the center of the Earth's core. In fact, it's less of a media outlet and more of a para-intelligence agency? They didn't pioneer the in-your-face paparazzi tactic, but they certainly weaponized it. Stick a camera in someone's face or block them from moving past you, then sprinkle in some light antagonism until they snap, thus fulfilling your self-made prophecy and proving them to be the monsters you always needed them to be. In Andy's case, he set up a narrative a day in advance to make sure everyone knew exactly what was going to happen. Are you watching closely?
Antifa blocking me again. Every cup here has the Antifa logo on it, the 3 arrows. They don't want me reporting. More Antifa. They're blocking me from recording. Yep. Can I help you? You can stop recording. Public protest. Okay, they just threw a whole bunch of milkshake all over me. Hi, officers. I'd like to report an assault, please.
Yep. So what exactly happened? Turn around for me real quick.
I was just recording standing in the center, and somebody ran up from behind me and said my name, and then threw the stuff on me.
They didn't throw the cup at you, they just threw the milkshake on you then, right?
The cup made contact with me, like that, on my head.
And he went to the hospital, and suddenly, everyone who had spent the entire day ridiculing him, including us, let out a collective gasp. Maybe he had been seriously injured. Maybe it wasn't just harmless syrup and milk. And suddenly reports came out that it could have actually been a chemical attack.
So it started off, of course, with milkshake throwing, right? You throw a milkshake and, oh, Burger King was making fun of it, and it's just a milkshake, dude. Now the reports are coming out of Portland that Antifa mixed concrete into the milkshakes.
The Portland Police Department released a tweet suggesting that cement could have been mixed in with the milkshakes to weaponize them further, turning them from frosty treats into dangerous bricks. They were no longer a delicious treat of justice. Now they were everything the right had cartoonishly hyperbolized them to be.
At him, it is just so vile.
This is the tolerant left.
This is masked thugs. And can you imagine if this was conservatives behaving this way again?
Andy looked like he got roughed up pretty badly, and now he was reporting that he had a brain hemorrhage.
Yet Andy, who's a double minority, if that's the game that you want to be played, he gets attacked and absolute silence.
Which luckily means you're completely fine to go out the next day and appear in every major news organization that'll have you. Yes, Andy had done it. He was finally famous, and Antifa was finally vilified as the worst group in America. He had assumed his ultimate form as the ultra victim.
It made me think that being a victim was somehow virtuous.
Things began to fit his narrative. The idea that it was comical to laugh at this man's overreaction to a milkshake had evaporated. He was no longer the antagonizer. He had become the victim, and the media ran with it.
And we're happy that you're at least capable of joining us tonight. That's a shocking story, an enraging story. We wish you the best on your recovery and hope you come back.
And it had been a blessing to every facet of the conservative media who had been working on this narrative for years, and they were finally being believed by the other side.
This is the heat of the Antifa fight last summer, right after Berkeley. They were really, specifically about Antifa, trying to downplay the violence and the undercurrent that
They seem to have
picked up.
given that up. They seem to have accepted the fact that there's a lot of
Some
violence.
of them.
That's the new narrative, the new normal, the new truth. This was an attack on an innocent journalist, plain and simple. To speak out against it makes you a leper. The pure amongst you will sing their hymns, clasp their hands, and embrace the warm light while being ushered into the heavens.
See what Twitter's saying about us?
No. What?
I mean, a lot of people are pissed off at the whole Joe Rogan sketch thing when you were Jack Dorsey.
Why?
I don't know. Like, some people are saying that it was kind of offensive that we were anthropomorphizing the AI.
But like, we weren't talking about human women. We were talking about just some digital, like hive queen. It's like aliens or StarCraft.
Yeah, I mean, some people still have a problem with it.
You know who the real victims are?
Well, I mean, I guess women, because at the end of the day, even in like Western societies, it's still really difficult to breastfeed. It's kind of vilified.
No, dude. The real victims.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still women, because like we live under a patriarchal society, and there's
us.
Us.
We're the victims.
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 The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he didn't exist. Except in this case, it's reversed. Andy is actually seen as God now, and Antifa are vilified as the horrific, violent, decentralized gang they were always meant to be seen as. Yet when the smoke is cleared, the silly string crumbled, and the milkshakes dried into a sticky stain, the facts behind everything paint a very different picture. If you watch closely and see past the magic trick, you'll see something else entirely. Since their first appearance in lieu of the 2016 presidential election, Antifa have been in the news a lot. February 2017 Berkeley protests, $100,000 in damages, no deaths. April of 2017 anti-fascist rally, no deaths. June 15, 2017 Patriot Prayers peaceful protest, no deaths. Unite the Right rally, clashes with the alt-right, no deaths. August 27, 2017 Berkeley, no damage and no deaths. November 2018 protesters outside of Tucker Carlson's home, no deaths. February 2019, Stone Mountain, Georgia, no deaths. To date, not a single death has been attributed to any Antifa member. The concrete and other chemical warfare materials that they're so fond of using, turns out the entire thing was a hoax. brought forth from a single email sent to the Portland police with no verifiable claims and not a single trace of cement-laden milkshake material brought forth. I mean, we kind of forgot or stopped caring about that, but most people who have ever worked a day's labor in their life were quick to point out online that mixing cement with a sugar-based liquid would be a waste of both materials. And since we're here, if we're going to talk about the whole find people on both sides thing,
homegrown right-wing extremists have also killed dozens of Americans. The groups include white supremacist and neo-Nazi groups and anti-federalist militias. Since 2001, the number of violent attacks on U.S. soil inspired by far-right ideology has spiked to an average of more than 300 a year.
America now has a bigger problem with right-wing terrorists than it does with Islamic ones. A recent report prepared for Congress by the Government Accountability Office shows that white far-right extremists have been responsible for a shocking 73% of all violent attacks that have resulted in death. Compared to Islamic violence, that's a ratio of almost 3 to 1. And the very same report claims that 41% of the deaths attributable to radical Islamic violence occurred in a single event, the attack in the Orlando nightclub shooting, which, frankly, has a lot more evidence pointing towards being a real hate crime, the largest one ever perpetrated against the LGBTQIA+ community. So when the narrative has suddenly become that the far left are just as violent, excuse us for pushing back, because that's not only complete and utter bullshit, it's dangerous. There's a reason we have spent the majority of our careers mocking people who radicalize and indoctrinate others, because we genuinely want people to see them for the magicians they are, the grifters they are. Because lest we forget, Andy has raised nearly $200,000 as part of a GoFundMe for his protection fund. And immediately after his non-stop press circuit, he's also started a second fundraiser, asking for an additional $100,000. The two combined have already raised more money than Heather Heyer, the activist who lost her life fighting against fascism in Charlottesville. Because at the end of the day, or should we say the end of days, when everyone is raptured up to the sky and the damned are left to wander what remains of the earth, it kind of makes you wonder how longingly you'd look up at the pompous and the virtuous who had spent their lives preaching hellfire to you so they could join the good graces of the more powerful. Personally, I think we just celebrate they're finally gone.
Jordan Peele does have a beard, doesn't he?
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he have an actual beard?
I think so.
Yeah, fuck it.
And all that will be left to do is enjoy the greatest party this world has ever seen. That incredible animation you saw at the very end was done by none other than StudioBombshell, aka Kyle G. Be sure to check out his YouTube. He's got amazing animations, and if you need to commission someone to make some work for you, he's definitely your man. He's also got a really funny animation where he animated the two guys from Street Fights Radio and Awesome Lefty podcasts. So please go subscribe to his work, follow him on Twitter, and give him some of your love. Did you enjoy what you just watched and now crave more Nectar of the Damned? Did you know that if you're watching on YouTube, you're only getting half the surfy experience? We upload all of our content commercial and censorship-free to our Patreon. Due to the general demonetization of our videos, we now upload half of our original content directly to those who can help us produce this show. Want even more nectar than that? Well, come join us at twitch.tv/TheSerfsTV, where we do weekly live streams, debates, interviews, AMAs, and more. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can help support our show 100% free by subscribing to our Twitch channel. So come join us, be merry, and know that your support is helping us do great things. Like pay rent and eat. Our quote this week comes from Alith Twinning, who says, "Elected officials are manufactured personalities and celebrities, or we are only permitted to take emotional stands on issues that do not affect corporate power." By Bertram M. Gross, Friendly Fascism, the New Face of Power in America.